Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive, modern overhaul of literally one of Nigeria's most recognizable national institutions. For over 5 decades, the National Youth Service Corps, or NYSC, has been this absolute cornerstone of Nigerian society. But, as the world changes, our institutions have to evolve with it. So today, we're going to break down the really comprehensive reform recently approved by the Federal Executive Council. It's a plan that promises to completely transform the NYSC from a traditional service model into a highly dynamic engine for youth development. And it really begs the question, doesn't it? How exactly do you take a post-Civil War unification tool, something established way back in 1973, and effectively upgrade it to solve modern-day crises? How do you take a system designed for a vastly different era and totally rewire it to tackle today's highly complex economic and social realities? While here is the newly reformed NYSC. And I want to be clear right off the bat, this isn't just some minor administrative tweak. It is a fundamental redefinition of the whole shebang. The Federal Executive Council has approved a blueprint designed to shift the program away from mere symbolic national service, straight into genuine, impactful youth development. We're talking about repositioning the entire scheme as a strategic tool for employability, skills acquisition, entrepreneurship, and ultimately national development. Basically, it's about fundamentally reshaping the future workforce. So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The NYSC legacy. 2. Why reform became necessary. 3. Old versus reformed model. 4. The 6-week orientation. 5. Specialized career streams. And finally, 6. The future of service. Okay, let's jump right in. Section 1. The NYSC legacy. Established in 1973, right in that early post-Civil War period, the scheme had one primary, absolutely vital goal: promoting national unity. And it achieved this by posting young graduates to states completely outside their places of origin for a compulsory year of service. Generations of Nigerians have passed through those orientation camps, proudly worn the iconic khaki uniform, and served in schools, ministries, hospitals, companies, and local communities. For 50 years, the scheme culminated in the traditional passing out parade, deeply embedding itself into the cultural fabric of the nation. It was, for sure, a shared rite of passage for millions. Moving on to Section 2, why reform became necessary. Because let's face it, contemporary Nigeria is dealing with a development environment that's radically different from 1973. We're looking at a perfect storm of modern challenges right now: soaring graduate unemployment, rising insecurity, weak linkages between universities and industries, and massive digital disruption. The old model was just struggling under the weight of all these new realities, and that was directly impacting the economic prospects of young people. Graduates were often posted to assignments that had absolutely no connection to their academic backgrounds. Imagine finishing a whole service year without gaining any practical skills for employment or self-reliance. Plus, very real security concerns raised legitimate questions about the safety of young graduates being randomly deployed across the country. Which brings us to Section 3, Old versus Reformed Model. So what exactly is changing? We know all about the flaws of the past, but what systemic, structural fixes are actually being implemented right now to solve them? Well, the contrast is honestly stark. The old model relied heavily on a brief 3-week orientation, completely random deployment based purely on placement availability, and highly uneven skills development. It had a very military-style governance structure and lacked any formal career paths. But the reformed model? It radically shifts this approach. The orientation literally doubles to 6 weeks. Deployment now strictly balances national integration with critical security considerations and skills alignment. Primary assignments are now fully expected to closely match a graduate's academic background. What we're seeing here is a deliberate, structural shift toward measurable employability and targeted entrepreneurship. Let's look closer at that in Section 4, the 6-week orientation. That brief, drill-heavy 3-week boot camp is officially transforming into a comprehensive 6-week practical timeline. Instead of just sitting through general lectures, Corps members are taken on a very deliberate journey. Week 1 grounds you in civic education. Week 2 scales right up into leadership. Then comes financial literacy and entrepreneurship in weeks 3 and 4. Week 5, that focuses entirely on highly demanded digital skills, and week 6 culminates in targeted career mapping and specialized training. It's a highly practical, career-focused launchpad completely designed to make graduates genuinely workforce-ready from day 1. Next up, Section 5, Specialized Career Streams. So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is this. We're permanently moving away from that old, frustrating model where your specialized academic degree had practically zero connection to your daily primary assignment. This reform acknowledges a simple truth. Graduate talent is a terrible thing to waste. This represents a much more intentional, strategic use of the country's brightest young minds to fuel broader economic growth. And to actually achieve this, the reformed NYSC introduces 11 vibrant, specialized career streams. We're talking fields ranging from agriculture and medical services to technology, the green economy, and the creative arts. By categorizing talent this way, it ensures that, say, a software engineer isn't just randomly placed where there happens to be an empty desk. Instead, they're placed directly into the technology stream where they receive specialized training and contribute directly to national economic priorities. It literally creates a seamless, logical bridge between university education and actual career work. Finally, let's wrap up with Section 6, the future of service. A fundamental change is happening right now in the operational philosophy of the scheme. The old model, as you know, was heavily associated with military-style leadership and very rigid deployment that didn't always reflect changing realities on the ground. The new model actually transitions towards civilian operational leadership, though it definitely still retains vital military support for security. But even more importantly, it introduces risk-sensitive deployment. This is a critical adjustment designed to genuinely protect Corps members by acknowledging modern security realities, all without abandoning that core, foundational objective of national unity. And fittingly, the way the service year ends is changing too. The traditional passing out parade, which, let's be real, was heavily symbolic and ceremonial, is transitioning into a true graduation ceremony. And this isn't just a simple name change, it is a profound shift in focus. This new ceremony is totally intended to emphasize learning, certification, and professional readiness. It frames the end of the NYSC year not just as completing a civic duty, but as a certified launchpad directly into the professional workforce or the world of entrepreneurship. So the blueprint for true youth development is clearly set, moving the NYSC way beyond symbolic integration into a highly practical bridge between education, work, and citizenship. But as with any massive institutional change, the ultimate question remains, will the execution actually match the ambition? The success of this phenomenal structural overhaul will absolutely depend on whether these reforms are implemented with real clarity, fairness, and seriousness. It's a bold vision for the future, leaving us all to watch closely as this new chapter of history unfolds. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.
Please like, share, and subscribe to Master Sense by Faraday, and turn on notifications so you don't miss new and upcoming videos. Drop a comment below and tell us what you'd like to see next.
Welcome back, Focus Learners. Today on The Explainer, we're unpacking a truly profound public policy document. We are looking at the massive proposed reforms to Nigeria's National Youth Service Corps, or as we all know it, the NYSC. And look, this isn't just some minor administrative tweak. We're talking about a fundamental paradigm shift in the very DNA of a massive national institution, and it has huge real-world implications for millions of young people.
Okay, let's dive into this. Our roadmap for today is pretty straightforward. First, the new NYSC philosophy. Second, the 5 core reforms. Third, how we're bridging the employment gap. And finally, the all-important hurdles to successful implementation.
Starting right off with Section 1. A new NYSC philosophy. Historically, the NYSC was built on what public policy experts call a symbolic model of citizenship formation. The traditional focus was heavily anchored on national reconciliation, inter-ethnic exposure, and civic unity, basically getting people from different backgrounds to mix. But now, the proposed new model shifts sharply toward youth capability building. It is pivoting heavily to focus on employability, economic development, and raw productivity. Now you might be wondering, are they just throwing out the old system? Absolutely not. The original mandate of civic unity isn't being abandoned. That foundational handshake of unity is still there. But it's being massively expanded with a strong, pragmatic economic development logic. The scheme is moving away from just having graduates wear the uniform and mingle to actually equipping young Nigerians, we're talking hundreds of thousands of them every single year, with real human capital, entrepreneurship, and tangible productivity skills designed to directly boost the national GDP.
Moving right along to Section 2, the 5 core reforms.
Let's take a guided tour through these pillars. What's really interesting here is how the primary assignment is completely reimagined. Under the new approach, assignments are expected to be strictly skills-based and actually aligned with the Corps' members' academic qualifications. So, for instance, if you're an agriculture graduate,
You won't just be placed randomly anymore. You might be directed toward food security projects, farm support, or agribusiness initiatives. A computer science or tech grad, you'd be placed exactly where digital transformation or IT solutions are urgently needed. It's about directly, logically matching specific skills to specific national development needs.
The second pillar tackles what is arguably one of the biggest concerns around national service today, and that's security. The focus is now firmly on risk-sensitive deployment. The reform objectively recognizes the absolute need to balance the traditional goal of national integration with the stark, non-negotiable responsibility of protecting young Nigerians. Postings will now heavily factor in prevailing security conditions, utilizing enhanced monitoring, safe posting zones, and much stronger real-time coordination between NYSC authorities and state security agencies.
Moving to the third pillar, we see a massive push for technology-driven mobilization. The entire call-up and registration process is slated for an end-to-end digitization overhaul. Think online dashboards, instant mobile and email alerts, secure encrypted records, and transparent mapping. The goal here is highly practical: cut the red tape, reduce administrative delays, minimize fraudulent mobilizations, simplify record corrections, and ultimately vastly improve public confidence in the whole scheme.
The fourth reform is a major structural shift, a transition towards civilian operational leadership. For decades, the NYSC has had a very strong military command flavor. This proposed change highlights a philosophical shift to a civilian-led development, skills, and productivity platform. Now, to be clear, the military isn't going anywhere. They will continue to provide vital security support, but the daily operational focus is shifting squarely toward good governance, accountability, and youth training.
And then we have the fifth pillar, which is highly symbolic but culturally very impactful, replacing the traditional passing out parade with a formal graduation ceremony, along with a redesigned uniform that projects modern professionalism rather than strict paramilitary tradition. These changes are designed to reinforce the idea that graduates are leaving the scheme more confident, highly employable, and truly ready to tackle the modern workforce.
Which brings us to Section 3, Bridging the Employment Gap. So, why does all this matter? Well, the strategy fundamentally intends to turn the mandatory service year from what many just view as a passive waiting period into a deliberate engine for national productivity. By connecting youth capability building directly to tangible labor market opportunities, it acts as a bridge. It's about taking raw university graduates, walking them across that bridge, and actively molding them into an employer talent pipeline, supplying the labor market with a reliable, skills-tested pool of young professionals. It's a total game changer if it works.
And the real-world applications proposed in the document are pretty staggering. We've got specialized streams intended to directly support national development priorities, agriculture corps members driving vital food security, education corps members strengthening schools in underserved rural communities, technology streams driving public sector digitization and small business innovation, and an entirely new green economy stream participating in climate, recycling, and renewable energy initiatives. Just imagine thousands of tech and green energy grads suddenly unleashed to supercharge local small businesses. The potential scale of economic impact here is just tremendous.
Finally, Section 4, Hurdles to Successful Implementation. So, I have to ask you, will this reform actually succeed? It's a beautifully designed policy document, no doubt about it, but an idea is really only as good as its execution, right? We have to bring this back down to earth and take a pragmatic, hard-hitting look at the risks involved.
So, the crucial point is that there are 4 major hurdles standing in the way of success. Number 1, the legal framework. Many of these proposed changes actually require legislative amendments to the NYSC Act. Policy announcements just aren't enough without clear laws to back them. Number 2, funding. Overhauling orientation camps, hiring specialized instructors, and building robust digital systems requires heavy, sustained financial investment. Number 3, quality control. The government must secure credible partners like universities, tech hubs, and private employers. Otherwise, these specialized streams will just devolve into generic lectures under a fancy new name. And number 4, equity. This reform absolutely must be inclusive. It cannot disadvantage youths from rural institutions or low-income backgrounds when it comes to lucrative stream selection or deployment.
Now, what's genuinely fascinating is that the reform strategy itself openly recognizes these massive red flags. The planners have mapped out the concerns, spanning everything from poor camp infrastructure and declining standards to a critical lack of implementation monitoring and oversight. Recognizing the problems is step 1, for sure, but legally backing them and aggressively funding the solutions, that is the real test of political will.
I want to conclude our explainer today by reading this incredibly powerful final thought directly from the source material. The promise of a transformed service year may not be realized unless these risks are treated as core requirements, not afterthoughts. And honestly, that is the absolute bottom line. It's a visionary paradigm shift, but execution is quite literally everything. Can this monumental transformation of youth service actually be pulled off in reality? That, my friends, is the multi-billion-dollar question we will leave you with today. Thank you for joining me on this explainer. Focused learners, keep exploring, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.
Please like, share, and subscribe to Master Sense by Faraday, and turn on notifications so you don't miss new and upcoming videos. Drop a comment below and tell us what you'd like to see next.
Welcome to this explainer. You know, every single year, hundreds of thousands of Nigerian graduates pack their bags, often grabbing those notoriously oversized khaki uniforms, and head off to enter the NYSC. Well, today, we're unpacking a highly discussed blueprint for reforming this absolutely massive institution. We're looking directly at the source documents to understand exactly how the NYSC is aiming to transition from a purely ceremonial rite of passage into something genuinely transformational. All right, let's dive right into this. For millions of young Nigerians, graduation isn't just some walk across a stage, right? It's a profound emotional collision. It's this intense mix of hope, fear, and deep uncertainty. As the source text highlights, for a lot of these graduates, this is literally the very first time they're leaving home, the first time they're stepping out to stand entirely on their own 2 feet. They are standing at a major crossroads in their lives. And standing at that crossroads, they're all asking one painful, crucial question. After school, what next? That single question is exactly why this policy reform matters so much to every single Nigerian graduate. They're looking at their future, and the NYSC is the bridge to get them there. The state of that bridge completely dictates whether they cross over successfully into their careers or whether they fall through the cracks. Historically, well, that bridge has looked pretty shaky. The old narrative viewed the NYSC as just a year of waiting, suffering, or uncertainty. Basically a mandatory pause button on life rather than an accelerator. And that's the exact perception this program desperately needs to shake right now. But what if, instead of a pause button, it was a launch pad? The new blueprint promises that the NYSC will transform into 1 year of active preparation, a year dedicated to discovering your true strength and learning a practical skill. It's envisioned as this protected time for meeting employers, building career confidence, genuinely serving the nation, and actively preparing for the future of work. Honestly, that is a massive paradigm shift. Section 1. The reality check. Asking the hard questions. Right out of the gate, we've got to ask, will the camps actually be ready? And will corps members be safe? We're talking about basic, real-world worries here. Everything from secure transport to decent facilities. Because, let's be real, no amount of career training matters if the fundamental safety and basic welfare of the graduates aren't absolutely guaranteed from day one. Next, we've got to question the authenticity of the program's value. Will the training be real, practical, and applicable to the modern job market? Or will it just be, another set of long speeches? Graduates don't need more empty motivation. They need tangible skills that will genuinely connect them to the future of work. Then we hit the huge issue of equity. Will a poor student get the exact same opportunities as a well-connected student? This highlights the absolute necessity for fairness in how postings and training are distributed. And fundamentally, will the government actually fund this reform beyond flashy press releases and ambitious promises? Because a reform without funding is really just a wish. Section 2. Blueprint for Successful Reform. So, how do we move from empty promises to actual reality? The blueprint lays out 6 foundational pillars. This isn't just slapping on a fresh coat of paint, it's a comprehensive top-to-bottom overhaul of the institution's mechanics. Let's break down exactly what these 6 pillars entail. Let's run through these real quick. 1. Clear legal backing, specifically amending the NYSC Act itself to lock in new accountability measures. 2. Strong partnerships with industries and credible private sector players. 3. Transparent, data-driven deployment to finally kill the anxiety of unfair placements. 4. Reliable digital infrastructure for seamless, secure mobilization across the country. 5. Measurable outcomes that actually track post-service employability. And 6. The absolute non-negotiable: improved welfare and safety. Honesty and competence are required across all 6 of these for this to work. Section 3. The transformation pathway. So what does this actually look like for a graduate on the ground? Step 1 preserves those vital founding ideals of unity and service. But then we add Step 2, skills and employability, giving them the practical tools needed today. Step 3 reinforces safety and welfare as a constant, unwavering foundation. And all of this leads directly to Step 4, productivity and national development. It's a clear evolution from just serving the nation to being equipped by the nation to be highly productive citizens. It's a clear start-to-finish pathway. The true promise here lies in maintaining that bedrock of national service, while actively building a paved road straight into the future of work. It's all about giving graduates credible exposure and clear career direction as they travel through the program. How do we know if we've successfully reached the end of that road? Well, the text gives us this incredibly powerful equation. Success equals safer corps members, better trained graduates, stronger communities. Ultimately, the success of the reformed NYSC isn't going to be measured by colorful ceremonies, redesigned uniforms, or ambitious announcements. It's going to be measured by a service year that citizens can genuinely, finally call useful.
Section 4. The ultimate choice.
Look, it all comes down to two very different realities. On one side, we have a merely ceremonial NYSC, trapped on paper, full of drums and pageantry, but completely empty on impact. But on the other side, a truly transformational NYSC, one that's producing safer members, highly employable graduates, and genuine practical career direction that actually changes lives. Which leaves us with this ultimate challenge, pulled directly from the text. The blueprint is sitting right there, but execution will demand absolutely everything. Will Nigeria choose to keep the NYSC merely ceremonial, or will it finally make it transformational?
Please like, share, and subscribe to Master Sense by Faraday, and turn on notifications so you don't miss new and upcoming videos. Drop a comment below and tell us what you'd like to see next.